Hi there, this is Liam from CoLab. This video is going to be talking about cost reduction. In particular, how to use CoLab to run VAVE workshops with your team and what that setup looks like beforehand. So let's jump over into CoLab. What we're looking at here is a braking system from a student design team that I was on when I was in university. And this was for a competition called the SpaceX Hyperloop competition. And so the setup here is that I have an assembly in CoLab and I want to bring in people from different teams or across the organization to all come in, look at this model together, and start generating ideas on how we might drive cost out of this product. Well, I can certainly just request a review on this file as is. What I want to do is make sure that I'm not just generating more ideas, but I'm also generating high quality ideas and making an effective use out of everybody's time. So I'm going to do 5 minutes of prep work here to hopefully drive 5 times more effective ideas from the team. In particular, what I want to get out of this setup is make sure that when participants come in, they have all the additional context they need in terms of how this assembly works and where they should be focusing their time and effort in terms of where do they want to generate ideas and perhaps what types of ideas. Are we looking to change the design? Are we looking to generate ideas around how we might manufacture this more effectively? Or are we talking about what suppliers we're going to be using for each individual part? This would be a great opportunity to highlight those things as well. And so to kick this off, I'm going to create what we call a packaging CoLab. To do that, it's very simple. Just take that file, right click, and I can go ahead and create a package. First thing I'll do here is just give this package a name so we have an idea on what it is when we see it in Drive. We will say brake and system package. Perfect. Go ahead and save that. Now the next thing I want to do is I have access to this feature called slides. And slides are a great way to communicate those things that we were talking about earlier in terms of how this assembly works and where the team should focus. We can create slides to present to participants in a particular order. So I'll switch over and I'll go ahead and create my first slide. I'm being asked which file I want to use. We'll be continuously working with this brake array assembly. We can see that first line has appeared on the left-hand side. I'm going to go ahead and rename this to main assembly. And I'm also going to select the view that I want to save to this slide. So this is the view state that participants will see when they click on that slide. And this seems like a pretty good home view. So as easy as that, I've created my first slide and established the first thing that participants are going to see when they hop into this event in this package. So the next thing I want to do is give some idea in terms of, how this works. What are the main components in terms of its design, and as well, what are the moving parts? And you're probably wondering the same thing, looking at this assembly. So let's give a little bit of background on what the SpaceX Hyperloop competition was. It's essentially, think of a long 1 mile tube that they brought the pressure inside down to vacuum to remove any air friction. There was this steel I-beam that teams would create vehicles and they would clamp onto this I-beam, and the goal was to go as fast as possible and, of course, bring yourself to a stop. And this I-beam is really the key part of this photo because that's what this braking system is going to be clamping onto. And perhaps that's what we want to communicate in this package is how exactly it does that. And so let's jump back over and create a slide for exactly that. So there's 2 ways for me to create slides. I can, of course, add a new one starting fresh from the bottom here, or I can just right-click an existing slide and say duplicate. It's a great option here because there's not a lot going on the slide to begin with. So now let's communicate, exactly that. How does this work? So here's a great view, kind of looking down the braking system. I'm going to save that view state. And I'm also going to use some markup tools to communicate, where is the I-beam exactly in this photo. Perhaps I'll just use the highlighter tool, kind of roughly sketch it in on where it is. And you know what? I'm going to also add a picture to this. If we come back over here, there's a great picture from the rules and regulations showing, the different types of acceptable braking, probably more importantly, not acceptable braking. Not exactly sure how this one would work, but, I guess they had to call it out just in case. But if we look here, this is the one that highlights the style for this assembly. I'm actually going to take a screenshot of that and just add it in as part of this, so I think it really gets the point across. Perfect. Make that a bit smaller. We will add an arrow. Great. Again, let's rename this. We'll say it's the braking style. So participants come in, what do they see? First thing they see is that main assembly, also a great home base to coming back to, get a full view of this assembly. Slide 2 is going to be showing, how does this brake style work in terms of where is the I-beam? What are we clamping onto? Next thing I want to show here is what are the moving parts? And then from there, we can focus on where do we want event participants to focus their energy in terms of is it an individual part? Is a whole assembly fair game? And then we'll wrap this thing up and send it off for review. So what are the moving parts on this assembly? Let's start with a new slide here. I'm going to do start fresh. Come back to that home view. Maybe we'll take an individual caliper to portray that. Again, I'll use the model browser to pick out a part. We'll take this first one. I'm also going to grab this piece. Let's isolate this. And now communicate what are the moving parts. To do that, let's start off by hiding the cylinder body. Now we'll grab whatever would be moving. So we got this, the guiding rods, this as well, this piece. I'm going to use the show handles feature to move this kind of in the direction of motion that it would be moving when it actuates. And then I'll bring back in, oh, that's not it, the cylinder body. Perfect. So that clearly shows what the moving parts are when this actuates. Again, I can start to, maybe I'll use the pen tool to show, of course, the springs would be extending here. And now we'll add some text to explain what's going on. So this was a air system, so pneumatic actuation, the range parts, guided, let's say, guided by 5/8 rods. Perfect. Let's make that a bit bigger. Up to 4. And we'll add in an arrow again. And so I'll move quickly just for the sake of time, but of course you can see how you could come in here and make some very detailed views on what are the key parts of the system, how do things move, and make sure event participants understand your design before they start blasting out ideas. So last thing here is I'll save, and again, I will rename, and I'll call this moving parts. Great. So again, let's summarize so far. We've got our main level assembly. We have how we're clamping onto the I-beam, and we have some of those key moving parts. The last thing I'm going to do here is say, where do I want people to focus their ideas? Let's continue this example. Let's duplicate this. Perhaps I'll just delete these, this one as well. And I'll say that this is also the event focus, but maybe not, actually, yeah, let's keep it here. We'll say event focus, individual caliper design. Always hard to type when you're recording. Correct. So again, I could give a detailed list here in terms of, are we looking at the design, the materials? Are we looking at, the supply chain aspect of this design? But we'll keep it simple for now. Key part here is that I'm guiding people's attention into where on the assembly I want them to be generating ideas. And that becomes really important on the back end when you're reviewing these ideas to make sure that the ones that you did receive can be implemented by the team. And so with that, I'll call this package done. And the next step is, of course, to request that review, send off notifications to the team to come in and review this. To do that, very simple, we're going to follow our typical review tool. I can go ahead and request review, give this review a title. I'll say it's a cost down event for the braking system. I'm going to add a due date to this. This is really important for communicating to event participants on how much time do they have to come in here and start leaving ideas. I'll give the team till the end of next Friday. Who do I want to invite in? Let's bring in some friends. Got lots of the sales team here. I'll invite them in. You know what? I'm going to add myself as well. And here's where I could add an additional note for the reviewers, any additional information that they might need, but I'll leave that for now. And as easy as that, I've sent it off for review. So now on their end, they're getting email notifications, in-app notifications, they're going to be brought directly into CoLab, directly to this package that we've created for them. They can start to go through those slides, get an idea for how this assembly works, and of course, see where they should focus their time and effort in terms of where they can generate ideas, start pinning ideas directly on the context of the model, all in one place collaboratively together. We'll do a follow-up video in terms of how CoLab is going to help you aggregate all those ideas, organize them in terms of impact and effort, and actually start assigning dollar cost values to those ideas so you can start getting an idea of what the outcome might be. And of course, using CoLab as a way to assign those ideas to people, move them through their life cycle of actually implementing them as well. But with that, I'll wrap it up there. Hopefully this was informative and useful for you. If you have any questions, please reach out to the team and we're happy to chat. Thank you.